Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another segment of our Making Proud Choices lessons. I am Mr. Deshaun of the Parenting Network, and I will be with you on this journey today as we have our discussion. And today's discussion will be on pregnancy. So we will be looking at some details of pregnancy and talk a little bit about what we really need to be aware of when it comes to myths and facts when it comes to understanding pregnancy and how pregnancy occurs. So I hope you all are ready for our journey today as we move forward with this discussion. So sometimes when it comes to pregnancy, we might not even really be seeking information at certain points in time, but we get inundated with information and not always know if it's accurate or not. So in this cartoon, we see this young person who says, last night I asked my parents where I come from, and we had a long talk about reproduction and contraception. But I still don't know if I'm Irish American, Dutch American, or German American. So there seems to have been a little bit of miscommunication in exactly what information was being sought, what curiosity was being um, looked at. And so sometimes we get information we're not quite ready for, and sometimes that can be overwhelming at times. And then sometimes we get the introduction to sex education when we're not even close to ready for it. So you see this cartoon, we interrupt this program for a family discussion about sex. Could be a little daunting, right? And sometimes we might feel like we actually probably know more than our parent or guardians when it comes to sex education due to things that we hear or conversations we've had with others, or maybe taking a program like Making Proud Choices, where you do get a lot of information about sex and sexuality and reproductive health that is accurate information. And so sometimes it might be like you're giving your parents grades as you have a conversation with them, as in this cartoon. And at the end, it says, "Way to go, mom and dad, you made the honor roll." And one of the benefits of being in a program like this is that you do become educated and can help others and be advocates for others and allies for others as they go through their reproductive and sexual health journey. And sometimes that sexual education conversation might come way too late or later in life, such as this cartoon here, the current state of home sex ed in the United States. Sit down, son. It's time we had that talk, that little man to man talk about the birds and the bees. All right. Might be a little late in life, but at any time you should have that conversation, but hopefully much sooner than in this case. So understanding that, we have the three R's. We're going to do plus three more R's. Some of you may have heard this was a saying way back when of the three R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic, because nobody wanted to pronounce the A in arithmetic. And we know writing starts with a W, but it was the sounds, right? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. We're the three R's that were highly touted years ago, but we have three R's of our own plus three more. And so that one R, the first one is relationship. The second is responsibility. The third is raising a child. The fourth, repercussion or consequence of our action and behavior. Number five, sometimes it's a desire to run away from our responsibilities or what we might perceive to be dangerous situations that we've gotten ourselves into. And six is reality. There's a reality that there are consequences that happen when we engage in sex and sexual behavior, pregnancy, STDs. There's emotional consequences, as well as those physical ones that we also readily can name and know. So it's really come down to your decisions, right? What are our decisions when it comes to sex, comes to pregnancy, and when it comes down to preventing unwanted consequences in our life, especially at this age when we are really finding ourselves in development of who we are, what we want, what we need in life going forward. So we want to be really mindful and aware of that. So to help us today, we want to make sure that you guys have taken a look at the video, The Truth About Sex. So that's the first video we would like for you to watch. The Truth About Sex video is found in your Google Classroom, and also this form that we would like for you to fill out as you watch the video, and the answers from that video are presented throughout this form in some form or fashion. If you're not sure, take a good guess, and then you will have your teachers will go over this with you at some point in time. And then we will have you watch a second video And this video is from conception to birth. And part of the video, starting at about 2 minutes, is going to start a display of a egg and sperm cell coming together, the sperm cell fertilizing the egg, and you'll see the development of that child up until 9 months in birth. At that point, you can cut that video off. You don't have to watch that video in its entirety, but you can start at the 2 minute mark, and about 5:20 or so, you can cut it off. But please pay close attention to that. And if you have not watched those videos, now is a great time to pause right here, stop where we are, and go ahead and watch those videos and come back. I'll see you in a moment. Well, now that you have watched those videos, I hope you understand why I'm so excited about that conception to birth video. Because with that video, as you see, a egg and sperm cell come together, that sperm cell fertilizes that egg and life develops. I love that video just from the standpoint that no matter who we are in the world, what we believe, what our thoughts are, what our sexuality is, our orientation, our identity, whatever it might be, we are all starting from that same point of egg and sperm cell coming together to create our life. And so even if we can't agree on anything else to start with, that is an amazing starting point in my mind, that we all, no matter where we are in this world, come from that starting point, right? That place. I also want to make sure that we're on the same page when it comes to understanding gender identity. When it comes to this pregnancy conversation, I've experienced that sometimes people will tune out because they feel it doesn't apply to them, or they're not at risk of pregnancy because of their gender identity, sexual orientation, and that's fine to think that. But I want to encourage everyone to listen to the pregnancy conversation, to find out what causes pregnancy, what are the risks of sexual behavior that can create pregnancy, because even though we have our identities, sometimes there's a fluidity to what we do sexually. So sometimes, even if someone identifies as a gay male, he may engage in sexual intercourse with a woman who has a vagina and a uterus. And so if that happens, pregnancy can occur. And I actually know of men who identify as gay males who have biologically fathered children. I also know of women who identify as lesbian who have given birth through biologically having sex with a male. So these things do happen. And so we want to just be aware, right, that we want to protect ourselves and put ourselves at the best place for success, no matter our gender identity. So make sure, no matter where you find yourself on as it goes with LGBTIA, LGBTQIA plus, wherever you are in that space, even if you are asexual, there is still a space for you to be able to understand pregnancy and the consequences of, because again, at any point, no matter how you identify, it doesn't mean you may not engage in other sexual behaviors that may be different than what your identity may lean to. So again, we are all in this together. And so we want to make sure that we all are in the same space and having this discussion and all listening and paying attention. So I mentioned earlier that we're going to talk a little bit about myths and facts. And so getting into that discussion, what is a myth? I'm sure you guys probably said something that's not true, right? Something that's made up. We have a lot of different types of myths. Some of them are known as urban legends, things that are said to be true over and over again, that people believe them, but they're not true in the sense that they're not based on what? Because that makes a fact a fact. What is a fact? A fact is truth, but it's truth based on evidence, right? Science. People have studied and they look at something and they're like, okay, no, this is really what it is, and this is really how this works. And so in our case, we're going to be looking at the difference between myths and facts through a few questions. But this example here that you see before you is an example of what now would be a myth. If when I was growing up, all throughout school and part of my adulthood, we were told that there were 9 planets in our solar system. And that was based on the time at the best science that was available. But then in about 2006, we come to find out that Pluto is no longer considered a planet. It's identified now as a dwarf planet. And so facts change. And now the fact is that there are 8 planets in our solar system. Pluto is a dwarf planet. And if I run around telling people that Pluto is the ninth planet of our solar system, I'm really conveying a myth to them now, because what was fact has changed and the new facts stand. There are 8 planets in our solar system, right? And so we want to make sure that we're paying attention, that what we're talking about and what we're sharing with our friends and our associates are actual facts, and not just things that have been said or at one point might have been fact, but no longer are, because we know better with science. So we want to do our first myth fact. And so if you all can, please just go ahead and think about it as I ask the question. If you want to just point to your screen, your answer, that's perfectly fine. So number one, is it a myth or a fact that a girl can get pregnant if she has sexual intercourse standing up? Is it a myth or a fact that a girl can get pregnant if she has sexual intercourse standing up? Myth or a fact? What say you, my friends? Well, just so we are clear, that is a fact, right? Sexual positioning does not make it impossible to have sex, right? No matter what position you are, gravity plays no part in whether or not a sperm cell and egg meet. So no matter what position, there is no safe sex position to avoid risking pregnancy. So you just want to be attentive and make sure that no matter what position someone engages in sexual intercourse, that sexual intercourse can lead to pregnancy, right? So again, a girl can definitely get pregnant if she has sexual intercourse standing up. Next one, number two. If a girl misses her period, she is definitely pregnant. What do you guys say? If a girl misses her period, she is definitely pregnant. What do you say about that one? Well, my friends, the answer to that is myth. That is not true. Because when, especially early on, when a girl starts her period, starts having periods, they are often very irregular. The cycles may vary. They may skip a month from time to time. And there also is a possibility that it's just, and even as she grows older into adulthood, that periods can be missed. Things can throw off a woman's period schedule, as even stress can be a factor at times, right? But if someone has had sexual intercourse and they missed their period, it is a good idea to go to a doctor, get a pregnancy test to find out for sure whether or not pregnancy has occurred. So just because a missed period has occurred does not mean someone is pregnant. And so we want to make sure that we are clear about that. Number three, a girl can get pregnant the first time she has had sexual intercourse. A girl can get pregnant the first time she has had sexual intercourse. What do you say to that? Myth or a fact? Well, that is a fact. Even the very first time someone has sexual intercourse, pregnancy can occur. If there is an egg present in that woman's body and fallopian tube, there is a likelihood that pregnancy could occur. Does that mean it always happens? No. But what is needed for pregnancy to occur? Sperm cell, egg cell, and a uterus. If those three are in play, pregnancy is a possibility. To number four we go. A boy cannot make a girl pregnant the first few times he has sex with her. A boy cannot make a girl pregnant the first few times he has sex with her. Myth or fact? Well, my friends, that is a myth. Whether it's the first time, whether it's the second, third, fourth, 100th time, pregnancy is a possibility, even the first time, right? If a male ejaculates and that sperm gets on or in the vagina, there's a possibility pregnancy can occur. So we want to make sure that we are really, really aware that that can happen. So even if someone has never had a wet dream, it's possible that they actually still have sperm in their testicles. Especially when we don't always know when we've started to go through puberty right away. So we want to make sure that we are aware of that. Number five, withdrawal or pulling out the penis before a man ejaculates or comes is an effective way to avoid pregnancy. So the pull-out method, the pull-out game, we hear the term, we see it in our music. Sometimes we hear it in our music. But again, withdrawal or pulling out the penis before a man ejaculates or comes is an effective way to avoid pregnancy. What do you say to that? Well, my friends, the answer to that is a myth. It is not an effective way to avoid pregnancy. There is still a lot of risk that is there when you engage in sexual intercourse unprotected. Even if your plan is to pull out before you ejaculate, you still have most likely released pre-cum, which is from the Cowper's gland, that fluid that is there to help clean out the urethra and protect sperm, but it contains sperm itself, which is protected by the fluid, and that can actually be released into one sexual partner even before you ejaculate, and you will have no idea it happened. So want to make sure about that, and just the risk of trying to time your ejaculation is very risky, and it can cause pregnancy to happen. So we want to make sure that we're not using this as a birth control method, or thinking that this, just because this happens, there's no way that pregnancy could happen. All right, you guys are doing great. On to number 6. A girl can get pregnant if she has sex during her period. So this is about personal preference. Some people may want to choose to engage in sexual intercourse while a period is occurring. Some people have felt that if you do this, you're avoiding possibility of pregnancy. It's personal preference, right? So whatever one's personal preference is, we're not going to sit up here and judge. People do what they do for whatever reason they do. All right. But the question is, a girl can get pregnant if she has sex during her period. True or false? What say you? The answer to that is fact. Because what we do know, scientifically speaking, that ovulation can happen at any point during a cycle, from cycle to cycle. There's different points when eggs are released, and we're not always 100% sure when that's happening. So it is possible that fertility or pregnancy can happen. The egg could be present even during a period. And also we do know that sperm can live in a woman's body up to 3 days after ejaculation. So even if she releases an egg shortly after her period, or even during the process of her period, that pregnancy can happen because of that. So even a few days after pregnancy, after sex, we have to be mindful that pregnancy can still occur. Number 7, a girl can get pregnant even if she hasn't had her first menstrual period. A girl can get pregnant even if she hasn't had her first menstrual period. What say you? So can a girl get pregnant before she's had her first period? That is a fact. Yes. A girl could become pregnant before she's had her first menstrual period. So that is simply because no one can predict when the first period will occur. And it is possible that someone who engages in sex before their first period might be preparing to have their first period if the egg was not fertilized. So they could have an egg present that released from the ovaries in the fallopian tube and not have had a period yet, but maybe would have soon if that egg didn't get fertilized. But that egg may become fertilized and plants in the uterus. Therefore, a first period may not occur until possibly even after pregnancy. Right? So we want to be mindful that yes, a girl can get pregnant even if she has not had her first period. Number 8, we're almost there. We have one more to go after this. A girl can get pregnant from swallowing semen. What do you guys think? A girl can get pregnant from swallowing semen. All right, the answer to that is myth. So a girl cannot get pregnant if she swallows semen because the digestive tract, mouth, throat, and it goes down to the stomach, right, which is the digestive tract. Pregnancy occurs if sperm enters the vagina, which is the part of the reproductive tract. So those two are not connected. So there's no way that if someone swallows semen, again, this is personal preference. People do what they do and choose to engage in how they engage sexually. But swallowing semen does not cause pregnancy. Cannot, because it's biologically not even possible the way our bodies are designed. The stomach and the uterus have no connection and no joining points with one another. And number 9, Raising a child from birth through the first year costs between $5,000 and $7,000. What do you say about that? Raising a child from birth through the first years costs between $5,000 and $7,000. Well, that is a myth. That would be a very, very low estimate. The fact is that actually, if someone is breastfeeding, it can cost anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 from birth to that first year. And if there are other things needed, such as formula, that can increase from 17 to about 28,000. And if there's premature birth that we know there's a risk of, or other birth defects or issues that may occur, that can go up by a whole lot more. So we want to be really mindful and careful of what we're hearing as far as how much it costs to raise a child. But do know it is expensive. And we want to put ourselves in the best position to raise a child in the healthiest and best way possible. So we really want to be mindful of those things. So we have our myth facts. You guys did also watch the video of The Truth About Sex. And I hope you guys are really paying attention to that video, because it can be very complicated. And to be honest, sometimes we're not sure how we feel about having sex or unprotected sex with a partner. And those things need to be discussed. There needs to be that dialogue that's there. And even realizing that pregnancy can bring stress to relationships. It could bring stress to friendships. But we want to be really mindful that we're putting ourselves, again, in the best position to be successful throughout our life by the choices we make even right now. So our reproductive quiz, you guys, I believe, have this in your Google Classroom. If you get a chance, you can take a look at it. If you want to, you can find it right now and pull it out from your Google Classroom. And real quickly, I will just give you the answers verbally, and you can come back to this if you would like and play with it as in your own time. So for the first grouping here, as you guys see, we have the penis, which is C. Let me see if I can find my annotation tools and if I can help you guys out a little bit. See how this will work. All right, so we have C, the penis, C, right? The male sex organ, also used to urinate. And then we have the testicles, which would be E, two oval-shaped organs that are contained in the scrotum. They produce the male hormones, testosterone and sperm. The epididymis is where actually sperm go to mature, and they're stored there. And after they're stored in there, they actually are released from the vas deferens, which that tube, which sperm is combined with fluids from the prostate and seminal vesicles to make semen. So those are the vas deferens. And then you have that fluid I had mentioned earlier that actually protects sperm from the acid of the urethra, but also carries sperm with it. So that would be that pre-cum that we've talked about. So for this one, if I can do this correctly, I'm just going to give it to you this way, and then I will talk about the order. So number one is that sperm is produced through the testicles. Then two, they move into the epididymis where they are stored. And then sperm moves to the vas deferens where it mixes with these other fluids that we talked about. And then it travels through the urethra and it leaves the body through ejaculation. Got it. So then we have, for the female reproductive organ, their functions, we're going to list them. So the female reproductive cell, known as ovum also, is the egg, that would be D. The uterus is the organ that prepares each month to receive a fertilized ovum. supports the fertilized ovum, and contracts during childbirth to help with the delivery. The vagina is the muscular passageway that serves as a female organ for intercourse, the arriving of sperm, the birth canal, and passageway for menstrual flow. The ovary are the two almond-shaped glands that store eggs and send out hormones. And then we have the fallopian tube, which are the tubes that extend from near the ovaries to the uterus. And then here we have one, the egg is produced, two, the ovaries release the egg from the fallopian tube, and then we have that fertilization occurs, and a zygote is the technical name of what is formed. And then we have implementation of the ovary occurs in the uterus. And then 5, we have a female is considered pregnant. There you go. That right there, my friends, is how we go about understanding the reproductive system. And with that, you guys now know what you know, and knowledge is power, right? Great information to have. This is great information for you to have at your disposal. Review it. Talk to your parent, your guardian, a trusted adult about this information, and talk to one another. And make sure you're sharing facts with one another as we have this discussion, and that we're paying attention to those things. So I am so glad I was able to be with you again. I look forward to us continuing our conversation and dialogue with one another. So again, thank you for being a part of our Making Proud Choices program, and I will see you next time.